Captain Veltar pressed his thin fingers against the control panel and watched the lights flicker and die one by one. The gentle hum that had filled the research vessel for months was gone. Now only silence filled the small ship called Gentle. Current, his crew of 12, looked at him with wide eyes full of fear. "Sir, the main engine is completely dead," said his second officer, Keshani. Her voice shook as she spoke. "We cannot fix it with what we have here." Veltar closed his eyes and tried to think. They were far from home at the very edge of space that anyone had ever explored. No other ships came this way. The nearest Zelrani colony was weeks away, even with a working engine. Their food would last maybe 10 days. The air recyclers were already showing warning signs. "What about the emergency beacon?" he asked. "I can send a distress signal on all frequencies," replied Linka, their communications officer. "But sir, we are so far out here. Who would hear us?" "Out." Veltar looked around at his crew. They were all scientists, not soldiers or explorers. They had come out here to study strange energy readings from an old star system. Now they might die because of their curiosity, but he had to try something. "Send the signal," he ordered. "Use the standard galactic emergency code. Maybe a cargo ship will pick it up. Maybe someone will help us."
Ow.
Linka worked at her station for several minutes. The distress beacon was simple. It told anyone listening that they were in trouble, where they were, and how many crew members needed rescue. She sent it out on every frequency they had, hoping it would reach someone, anyone who could help, far away. On a human space station called Frontier Watch, Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee and reading reports when his computer started beeping. He had been watching the deep space sensors for 3 years, and nothing interesting ever happened. Most days, he just filed reports about space dust and solar radiation. But today was different. His translation computer was working very hard, trying to make sense of signals that were definitely not human. Adive put down his coffee cup and leaned forward to read the screen more carefully. "What the hell?" he said to himself. The computer had figured out the message. It was from something called a Zelrani research vessel. They were in serious trouble and needed help immediately. According to the message, 12 beings would die if no one came to rescue them. Jake had never seen anything like this before. No human had ever met aliens. Most people thought they might exist somewhere, but no one had ever found proof. Now he was looking at a distress call from actual alien beings, and they needed help. He grabbed his communication device and called Admiral Lisa Carter at Terra Central Command. It took a few minutes to get through to her, but when she answered, Jake could barely contain his excitement. "Admiral, you need to see this right now," Jake said quickly. "I have a distress signal. From non-human beings? They are 47 light years from Earth, and they are dying." There was silence on the other end for a long moment, and Admiral Carter spoke in her calm, professional voice. "Send me everything you have, Morrison. Right now." The data to Terra Central Command and waited. He knew Admiral Carter was smart and decisive, but this was bigger than anything they had ever dealt with before. This was first contact with alien life, and those aliens needed help immediately. At Terra Central Command, Admiral Carter studied the information with her staff. The message was clear. 12 alien beings were stranded in space with failing life support systems. They had maybe a week to live, and no one else seemed to be coming to help them. "What do we know about this species?" she asked Dr. Williams, her science advisor. "Nothing at all," he replied. "The translation software can handle their language, but we have no idea what they look like or what kind of technology they have. For all we know, this could be some kind of trap." Admiral Carter thought about this. Humans had been preparing for contact with aliens for decades, but they had always assumed that aliens would be the ones with superior technology. They had never considered that humans might be the ones doing the rescuing. "Cannot let them die," she said finally. "If we do nothing and they die, what does that say about humanity? We have to help them." "But what if it is dangerous?" asked General Rodriguez, her military advisor. "What if there are more of them waiting to attack us?" Admiral Carter looked at the message again. 12 beings on a small research ship, stranded and dying. Even if it was a trap, How much danger could 12 aliens in a broken ship really be? We go in prepared for anything, she decided. But we go. Contact Admiral Brooks and tell him to prepare the 7th Battle Fleet for immediate deployment. Full combat readiness. But this is a rescue mission. The entire 7th Fleet. General, Rodriguez asked with surprise. Admiral, that is over 30 ships. We're talking about rescuing 12 aliens from one small vessel. Exactly, Admiral Carter replied. We have no idea what we are walking into. This is first contact with alien life. We take no chances with the safety of our people, and we make sure we can handle any situation we find. Admiral Ryan Brooks received his orders within the hour. Take the 7th Battle Fleet, travel 47 light-years into unknown space, and rescue 12 alien beings from a disabled research vessel. It sounded simple. But Brooks knew that nothing involving first contact with aliens would be simple. The 7th Fleet was one of humanity's most powerful military forces. The flagship was the massive dreadnought Freedom, surrounded by 6 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers, and 4 carrier ships full of fighters. It was enough firepower to conquer a small solar system. But to Admiral Brooks and his crew, this was just standard procedure. When humans went into unknown situations, they went prepared for anything. They had learned this lesson the hard way during centuries of war and exploration on their own. Dangerous planet as the fleet prepared to leave Earth. Captain Veltar and his crew continued to wait in the darkness of space, watching their life support systems slowly fail. They had no idea that their simple distress call was about to bring the most powerful military force they had ever imagined. Straight to their location. 6 days had passed since the human fleet left Earth. Captain Veltar was checking the air recyclers again when Linka suddenly screamed from her station. The sound made everyone on the bridge jump and turn to look at her. Ships, she shouted, pointing at her scanner screen. Massive energy signatures all around us. Velta rushed to her station and looked at the readings. His blood turned cold. The sensors were showing dozens of huge objects appearing out of nowhere surrounding their tiny research vessel. Each one was bigger than the largest Zelrani warship. Ever built? How many? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. 37 ships, sir, Linka replied, her hands shaking as she worked the controls. The biggest one is, sir, it is 10 times larger than our biggest military vessel. Through the viewports, they could see the massive human ships materializing as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The flagship Freedom looked like a floating city of metal and weapons. Its hull was covered with gun turrets and missile launchers. Smaller ships moved around it like deadly fish swimming in formation. They heard our distress call, whispered Keshani. But what kind of beings need such terrible weapons just to travel through space? The human ships moved with perfect coordination, taking positions around the gentle current. Their formation was flawless, like they had practiced this movement. Thousands of times, to the Zelrani crew, it looked like they were being surrounded by an invasion force, on the bridge of the Freedom. Admiral Brooks was studying the alien ship through his view screen. It was small and elegant, with smooth curves and no visible weapons. It looked more like a piece of art than a spacecraft. It is beautiful, said Commander Kate Phillips, standing beside him. She was the fleet's expert on alien life, though she had never actually met any aliens before today. Look at those lines. It is built for speed and grace, not for fighting. Any signs of weapons? Brooks asked his tactical officer. None that we can detect, sir, Lieutenant Cole replied. In fact, I am not sure how this thing would defend itself. Against anything bigger than a space rock, Admiral Brooks nodded. This was good news. If the aliens had no weapons, then this really was just a rescue mission. But he kept his fleet in combat formation anyway. Humans had learned long ago that it was better to be ready for trouble than to be surprised by it. Open a communication channel, he ordered. Let us talk to them. Commander Phillips stepped forward to her station. As the fleet's xenobiologist, she had studied every theory about communicating with alien life. But all her training felt useless now that she was actually doing it. Alien vessel, this is Commander Kate Phillips of the human starship Freedom, she said into her microphone. We received your distress signal, and we are here to help you. Please respond. On the Zelrani ship, Linka was frantically working to translate the incoming message. The human language was strange, but their computer was slowly figuring it out. When the translation appeared on her screen, she could hardly believe what she was reading. "Sir, they say they are here to help us," she reported to Captain Veltar. "They call themselves humans." Veltar looked around at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for him to decide what to do. These humans had enough firepower to destroy 100 ships like theirs, but they claimed they wanted to help. "Answer them," he decided, "but be very careful what you say." Linka activated the communication system. "Human ship Freedom, this is Captain Veltar of the Zelrani research vessel Gentle Current. We thank you for responding to our distress call. Our engine has failed, and our life support systems are failing. We have 12 crew members." On the Freedom, Commander Phillips smiled when she heard the translation. The alien captain sounded scared, but he was being polite. That was a good sign. "Captain Veltar, we are going to send a team over to your ship to help with repairs," she replied. "Do not worry. We have medical supplies and emergency food if you need them." The word team made Veltar nervous. How many humans were coming aboard his ship? And why did they need to come aboard at all? Could they not just tow the Gentle Current to safety? Admiral Brooks was already making plans. "Colonel Martinez, prepare a boarding team," he ordered. "Full environmental suits and standard equipment. We do not know what their atmosphere is like or what diseases they might carry." Colonel Danny Martinez nodded and left the bridge. He was a big man, even by human standards, and his job was to keep people safe in dangerous situations. To him, boarding an alien ship definitely counted as dangerous. 20 minutes later, Martinez and 6 other humans approached the Gentle Current in a small shuttle. They were all wearing full combat armor, which was standard procedure for boarding unknown vessels. The armor made them look even bigger and more threatening than they already were. Each human carried enough weapons and equipment to fight a small war. Martinez had a plasma rifle, grenades, medical supplies, repair tools, and emergency food rations. To humans, this was just being prepared. To the Zelrani watching them approach, it looked like an invasion force. "They are armed," Keshni whispered, as she watched the shuttle dock with their ship. "All of them have weapons." "Maybe that is normal for them," Veltar replied, though he did not believe it himself. "Maybe they live in a dangerous part of space." The airlock opened and Colonel Martinez stepped into the Zelrani ship. He had to duck to fit through the doorway, and his armored boots made loud clanking sounds on the metal floor. Behind him came 6 more humans, all just as big and heavily armed. The Zelrani crew pressed themselves against the walls, trying to stay as far away from the humans as possible. Martinez looked around and saw 12 small, thin beings with large eyes and pale skin. They looked terrified. Martinez reached up and removed his helmet, revealing a human face with dark hair and kind eyes. He smiled at the aliens and spoke in a calm, gentle voice. "Hello there," he said. "I am Colonel Martinez. We are here to help you. Are any of you hurt?" The translator worked slowly, but when Veltar understood what the human had said, he was confused. This huge, armored warrior was asking about their health with the same tone a parent might use with frightened children. "We... We are not injured," Veltar replied carefully. "But our engine is broken, and our air recyclers are failing." Martinez nodded and gestured to 2 of his team members. "Rodriguez and Clark will fix your engine. Johnson will check your life support systems. The rest of us will make sure you have food and water." Chief Petty Officer Amy Rodriguez stepped forward with her repair kit. She was smaller than Martinez, but still much bigger than any Zelrani. She looked at their engine systems and shook her head. "This is going to be easy," she told Martinez. "Their technology is actually quite advanced, but they are missing some basic safety systems. I can have them running in a few hours." As the humans began working, the Zelrani crew watched in amazement. These beings moved with confidence and skill, fixing problems that had seemed impossible just moments before. They worked together like parts of a single machine, each one knowing exactly what to do. But what confused the Zelrani most was how gentle the humans were. Despite their frightening appearance and massive weapons, they treated the aliens with kindness and respect. Martinez even shared his emergency food rations, though the taste was too strong for Zelrani's stomachs. Captain Veltar began recording everything with his personal device. If he survived this encounter, his government would need to know about these humans and their incredible ships. But he was no longer sure if he was recording a rescue or the beginning of an invasion. 3 hours after the humans began repairs, Captain Veltar sent an emergency message to the Zelrani government. His hands shook as he recorded the transmission, knowing it might be the most important message in galactic history. "This is Captain Veltar of the research vessel Gentle Current. We have made contact with a new species called humans. They responded to our distress call with a massive battle fleet of 37 warships. Each ship carries enough weapons to destroy our largest cities. The humans claim they are here to help us, but their military power is beyond anything we have ever seen." He paused and looked toward the engine room where the humans were working. Their repair tools made strange humming sounds, and they spoke to each other in quick, efficient phrases. They moved like soldiers, even when they were just fixing machines. "I do not know their true intentions," Veltar continued. "They are repairing our ship and giving us food, but they are all heavily armed. I have never seen beings like these. They are tall, strong, and they seem comfortable with violence in ways that frighten me. I will continue to monitor the situation, but our government must be warned immediately." The message traveled through space toward Zelrani Prime, the capital world of the Zelrani Republic. When it arrived 6 hours later, it caused immediate panic in the government buildings. Ambassador Keshta was in an important meeting about trade agreements when her assistant burst into the room with the emergency transmission. She listened to Veltar's message 3 times before she fully understood what she was hearing. "The Galactic Cooperative Council immediately," she ordered. "This is a code-red emergency. We may be facing an invasion by a previously unknown military species." The Galactic Cooperative Council had been keeping peace in this part of the galaxy for over 800 years. The council chambers on Altara Prime were usually quiet places where different species discussed trade routes and scientific discoveries. Today, the chambers were filled with worried voices and frightened delegates. High Counselor Murdoch, of the Altarian hegemony, called for order as ambassador. Keshta played Veltar's message for the entire council. The recording was translated into dozens of languages, and each species heard the same terrifying news. A new species with overwhelming military power had appeared at the edge of known space. 37 warships, repeated Counselor Vekmar of the Breen Confederation. "That is more firepower than most of our worlds have for defense. And they sent all of this just to answer one distress call. Either they are preparing for conquest, or their entire society is built around warfare," added Counselor Yildesta of the Corvani Union. "No peaceful species would need such weapons." The council voted quickly to send a warning fleet to Zelrani space. It was the first military action the Galactic Cooperative Council had taken in 3 centuries. Ships from 12 different species began moving toward the coordinates where the humans had been spotted. The Galactic fleet was impressive by their standards. 40 ships from different worlds, carrying the best technology their peaceful civilizations could build. But these ships were never designed for real combat. Most of them were converted cargo vessels or research ships with basic defensive weapons. Captain Morden of the Altarian ship Peaceful Sky commanded the fleet. He was one of the few beings in the galaxy who had studied military history, though he had never expected to use that knowledge in real life. As his ships approached human space, he tried to make plans for a battle he hoped would never happen. On Earth, President Helen Torres was sitting in an emergency meeting with her top advisors. News of the alien fleet had reached Earth through Admiral Brooks' regular reports. And now they were facing a potential war with species they had just discovered. "How many ships are coming toward our position?" she asked General Martinez, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. 40 vessels, Madam President," he replied. "Our intelligence suggests they are from multiple species, probably a coalition force. But their weapons technology appears to be quite primitive compared to ours." Dr. Chris Walker, the newly appointed Secretary of Xenological Affairs, leaned forward in his chair. "Madam President, I think we are dealing with a massive misunderstanding here. Admiral Brooks reports that the aliens he rescued seemed genuinely surprised by our military capabilities. It is possible they have never encountered a species like us before. What do you mean? President Torres asked. Most of these alien species appear to have been at peace for centuries, Dr. Walker explained. They may have developed space travel without developing military technology. To them, our standard fleet deployment probably looks like an invasion force. President Torres thought about this carefully. Humans had always assumed that any species capable of space travel would also be capable of warfare. It had never occurred to them that aliens might be more peaceful than humans. What are our options? She asked. Can try to communicate with them, suggested Secretary of State Patricia Johnson. If this is just a misunderstanding, maybe we can explain our intentions. Or we can prepare for battle, added General Martinez. If they are coming to fight us, we need to be ready. In space, Admiral Brooks found himself in the middle of the most complicated situation of his career. His sensors showed the approaching alien fleet, and he knew they probably saw him as a threat. But he also had a responsibility to protect his ships and complete his mission. Lieutenant Sam Turner, the fleet's intelligence officer, was studying the alien fleet composition when he made an important discovery. He rushed to Admiral Brooks with his report. "Sir, I have been analyzing their ship designs and energy signatures," Turner said excitedly. "These are not military vessels. Most of them appear to be converted civilian ships with basic defensive weapons. It is like they took their merchant fleet and tried to turn it into a navy." Admiral Brooks looked at the tactical display showing both fleets. The human ships were arranged in perfect battle formation, their weapons ready, and their shields up. The alien ships were spread out in a loose group, clearly unsure of what they were supposed to be doing. They have never fought a real battle before, Brooks realized. They are scared, and they are trying to look threatening, but they have no idea how to actually fight a war. Commander Phillips joined them at the tactical station. "Sir, I have been monitoring their communications. They keep talking about warning the humans away and protecting galactic peace. I do not think they want to fight us. I think they are just afraid." Admiral Brooks made a decision that would change galactic history. Instead of preparing for battle, he ordered his fleet to power down their weapons and move into a non-threatening formation. "Open a channel to the alien fleet," he commanded. "It is time we had a real conversation with our new neighbors." But even as he gave the order, Brooks knew that this situation was far from over. 40 alien ships faced 37 human vessels in the darkness of space, and both sides were scared of what the other might do. One wrong move, one misunderstood message, could start the first interstellar war in galactic history. On the gentle current, Captain Veltar watched the human and alien fleets face each other and wondered if his simple distress call was about to cause the destruction of everything he held dear. The humans had fixed his ship and treated his crew with kindness. But now their weapons were pointed at ships from his own government. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see what would happen next. Admiral Brooks opened the communication channel to the alien fleet. His voice was calm and steady as he spoke into the microphone, knowing that his next words could prevent or start a war. "Alien vessels. This is Admiral Ryan Brooks of the human fleet. We are not here to fight you. We came to rescue the crew of the Gentle Current, and we have completed that mission. We do not want any conflict with your people." Captain Morden of the Peaceful Sky received the translation and felt confused. The human admiral sounded reasonable, but his fleet still looked terrifying. 40 alien ships faced 37 human vessels, but the humans had 10 times more firepower. "Human fleet, this is Captain Morden of the Galactic Cooperative Council. We have received reports that you are a military species with aggressive intentions. We are here to protect our territory and our people." On the Freedom, Dr. Alina Martinez was listening to the conversation while studying data about the alien species. She was the fleet's chief scientific officer, and she had been analyzing everything they had learned about galactic civilization. "Admiral," she said quietly, "I think I understand what is happening here. May I speak to them?" Brooks nodded and gestured for her to take the communication station. Dr. Martinez had spent her whole career studying how different cultures might develop, and she had some ideas about these aliens. Captain Morden, this is Dr. Alina Martinez. I would like to ask you some questions about your people, if that is acceptable. We are trying to understand why you think we are dangerous. There was a long pause before Morden replied. Dr. Martinez, your ships carry enough weapons to destroy entire cities. Your soldiers board other vessels wearing armor and carrying guns. How are we supposed to think you are peaceful? Dr. Martinez smiled, even though the aliens could not see her. Captain Morden, what is the most dangerous animal on your home planet? The question surprised Morden. I do not understand why you ask this. Please, just answer the question. What is the most dangerous creature where you come from? Morden thought for a moment. There are some large herbivores that might step on you by accident, and there are some small insects that carry diseases, but nothing that would actually hunt and kill other creatures. Dr. Martinez exchanged glances with Admiral Brooks. This was what she had suspected. Captain Morden, on our planet Earth, we have creatures called tigers that hunt and kill for food. We have bears that can crush a human with one blow. We have snakes with poison that can kill in minutes. We have sharks in our oceans that eat other animals alive. And those are just the beginning. The alien fleet was silent as this information was translated. Dr. Martinez continued. Captain, what is the worst weather on your planet? Sometimes it rains too hard and we have to stay inside, Morden replied, still confused about where this was going. On Earth, we have storms with winds that can destroy buildings. We have earthquakes that split the ground open. We have volcanoes that pour melted rock and kill everything for miles around. We have floods that wash away entire cities. Captain Betty Johnson, commanding the cruiser Dakota, was listening to the conversation from her own bridge. She decided to add something to help the aliens understand. Alien ships. This is Captain Johnson. Dr. Martinez is trying to explain that our planet is very dangerous. Everything on Earth tries to kill us. Animals, the weather, the ground itself. We had to become strong and well-armed just to survive. On the peaceful sky, Morden was having trouble believing what he was hearing. Are you saying that your entire species evolved on a world that was constantly trying to kill you? That is exactly what we are saying, Dr. Martinez replied. We call planets like ours Deathworlds. Most humans think Earth is actually quite pleasant compared to some planets we have found. Dr. Tony Garcia, the chief medical officer, joined the conversation from the medical bay where he was still examining the Zelrani crew members. Captain Morden, I have been studying the aliens we rescued. They are herbivores with no natural defenses. Their bones are light and fragile. Their muscles are weak. They have never had to fight for survival. What does this mean? Asked Counselor Dekmar, who was listening from one of the other alien ships. It means that most species in your galaxy developed very differently than humans did, Dr. Martinez explained. You evolved on safe, peaceful worlds where you never had to fight anything. You've developed technology and space travel without ever needing weapons or armies. Admiral Brooks took back the communication. We are not a military species because we want to conquer others. We are a military species because our planet taught us that the universe is dangerous. Everything we do is designed to protect ourselves and others. Captain Veltar, still aboard the Gentle Current, was recording everything. As he listened to the humans describe their world, he began to understand why they seemed so frightening, but acted so kindly. Humans, he said, joining the conversation for the first time. Are you saying that you built all these weapons, not to attack others, but to defend yourselves? Exactly, replied Colonel Martinez from the boarding team. Captain Veltar, when we came aboard your ship, we brought weapons because we did not know what we might find. We brought medical supplies because someone might be hurt. We brought food because you might be hungry. To us, being prepared for danger is just normal. The alien fleet was beginning to understand, but they were also becoming more frightened. If humans came from such a dangerous world, what did that make them? Dr. Martinez seemed to read their thoughts. I know this is scary for you to hear. Think about what we actually did. We received a distress call from beings we had never met before. We traveled 47 light years to help them, using our most powerful ships to make sure we could handle any danger we might find. But you could have just ignored the distress call, pointed out Counselor Yildesta. No, said Admiral Brooks. Firmly, we could never do that. Our dangerous world taught us that survival depends on helping each other. When someone is in trouble, you help them. When someone is in danger, you protect them. This is what humans do. Captain Johnson accidentally demonstrated human reflexes when her ship's sensors detected what looked like weapons charging on one of the alien vessels. She immediately moved the Dakota into a defensive position, but her ship's movement created a gravitational wave that disabled to nearby alien ships. The alien crews immediately began evacuating, thinking they were under attack. Captain Johnson was horrified. Stop evacuating, she called out over the communication channel. I am sorry. I thought you were charging weapons, so I moved to protect my ship. I did not mean to damage your vessels. The incident perfectly illustrated the problem. What humans considered normal defensive actions looked like attacks to species that had never experienced real danger. Dr. Martinez tried to calm the situation. This is what we are trying to explain. Captain Johnson moved her ship because she thought there might be danger. She was trying to protect everyone, not attack anyone. But because you have never had to deal with real threats, her defensive action looked aggressive to you. Slowly, the alien crews stopped evacuating and returned to their ships. The two disabled vessels were not seriously damaged, just temporarily without power. Captain Morden spoke quietly into his communicator. Humans, I think we are beginning to understand. You are not trying to invade or conquer. You are just very good at surviving dangerous situations. That is right, Admiral Brooks confirmed. Now we would like to use those skills to help keep the galaxy safe. There might be real dangers out here that your peaceful species are not prepared to handle. As both fleets floated in space, the first real understanding between humans and the galactic species began to form. The aliens were starting to see that humanity's frightening military power came from a desire to protect, not to conquer. But they were also realizing that the galaxy might be a more dangerous place than they had ever imagined. Admiral Brooks made a decision that surprised everyone, including his own crew. He sent an invitation to the alien fleet asking their leaders to come aboard the Freedom for dinner. The idea seemed crazy to both humans and aliens, but Brooks believed it was the only way to build real trust. You want to invite them onto our flagship? Asked Commander Phillips with surprise. Sir, we know almost nothing about these species. Exactly, Brooks replied. They know nothing about us except that we have big guns. It is time we all learned something new. Lieutenant Colonel Nancy White, the fleet's diplomatic liaison, spent hours preparing for the dinner. She had never planned a meal for aliens before, but she knew it needed to be perfect. The dining hall on the Freedom was large enough for representatives from all 12 alien species. Captain Morden was nervous about accepting the invitation. Most of his crew thought it was a trap, but he knew they needed to understand these humans better. He selected one representative from each species to join him aboard the human ship. When the alien shuttle docked with the Freedom, Admiral Brooks personally met them at the airlock. He had removed his military jacket and wore a simple uniform shirt, trying to look less threatening. Behind him stood a small group of human officers, all unarmed. The aliens were amazed by the size of the human ship. The corridors were wide enough for 3 humans to walk side by side, and the ceilings were high enough that even the tallest aliens felt comfortable. Everything was built on a scale that suggested humans expected to face big challenges. The dining hall impressed the aliens even more. It was decorated with pictures of Earth showing mountains, oceans, and forests. The images looked beautiful but also dangerous, with high cliffs and stormy seas that would terrify most galactic species. "Welcome aboard the Freedom, Admiral Brooks," said as the aliens took their seats. "Before we eat, I would like you to meet some of my crew. These are the people who answered your distress call." He introduced each human officer, explaining their jobs and backgrounds. Commander Phillips talked about studying alien life. Dr. Martinez described her research into different planetary environments. Colonel Martinez explained how he had learned to help people in dangerous situations. The aliens listened carefully, beginning to understand that humans were not just soldiers, but also scientists, doctors, and teachers. They were complex beings with many interests beyond warfare. Commander Pete Clark The fleet's weapons officer surprised everyone by explaining human military thinking. Our weapons are not meant to attack others, he said. They are meant to stop attacks. Every human child learns that you only fight to protect something important. Dr. Sarah Kim, the fleet's anthropologist, showed the aliens pictures of human families and cities. This is what we protect, she said. Our children, our homes, our way of life. Everything we build is meant to keep these things safe. The dinner itself was an adventure. Human food was too strong for most alien taste buds, but the aliens appreciated the effort, more importantly. They began to see humans as individuals rather than just a frightening military force. Captain Veltar spoke up during the meal. Admiral Brooks, I have a question that troubles me. If humans are protectors, why did you bring so many ships to rescue just 12 beings? Brooks smiled. Captain, imagine you received a distress call from a place you had never been before. You know nothing about what dangers might be there. Do you send one small ship and hope for the best? Or do you send enough ships to handle any problem you might find? But 37 ships seems like too many, said Counselor Thekmar. Does it? Asked Dr. Martinez. What if there had been 100 ships in distress? What if there had been hostile forces in the area? What if the rescue had gone wrong and we needed to fight our way out? We brought enough ships to save everyone and get everyone home safely. The conversation continued for hours. The aliens asked about human history. The humans explained their long journey from primitive hunters to space-traveling civilization. They talked about wars, but also about art, music, and literature. They described their efforts to explore space and find other intelligent life. As the evening progressed, the aliens began to understand something important. Humans were not monsters who enjoyed violence. They were a species that had learned to be very good at violence because their survival had depended on it. We have a proposal, Admiral Brooks said as the dinner ended. The galaxy is a big place, and it might not be as safe as you think. There could be dangers out there that your peaceful species are not prepared to handle. We would like to help you stay safe. What kind of help? Asked Captain Morden. Let us be your guardians, Brooks explained. We will patrol the dangerous areas of space. We will respond to emergencies. We will protect your ships and colonies from any threats that might appear. In return, you can teach us about your sciences, your cultures, and your peaceful ways. The alien representatives looked at each other. The idea of needing protection was strange to species that had lived in peace for centuries. But they had seen human capabilities, and they were beginning to understand that the universe might hold dangers they had never imagined. 3 days later, representatives from Earth and the Galactic Cooperative Council met on the neutral station Deep Space. 7 to sign the Terra Accords. The agreement made humanity the official protector species of known space. With Admiral Brooks promoted to Supreme Fleet Commander of the new Galactic Defense Force, the ceremony was broadcast across dozens of worlds. President Torres spoke for humanity, promising that Earth would use its strength to defend all peaceful species. High Counselor Murdoch spoke for the Council, welcoming humanity as a new member of galactic civilization. But the real test of the new alliance came just 2 weeks later. A mining colony in the Outer Rim sent a distress call reporting attacks by unknown automated warships. The message was desperate and terrified, describing machines that destroyed everything in their path. The call reached Deep Space 7, where Admiral Brooks now commanded a mixed fleet of human and alien vessels. The alien ships provided sensors, communications, and medical support. The human ships provided the firepower. Unknown warships attacking civilians, Brooks announced to his fleet, "This is exactly why we are here. All ships, prepare for combat. Operations." The combined fleet arrived at the mining colony to find 3 ancient war machines systematically destroying the settlement. The machines were left over from some long-forgotten conflict, their programming corrupted by centuries of drift through space. The alien crews watched in amazement as the human ships moved into battle formation. The Freedom and her escorts attacked with precision and overwhelming force, disabling the war machines in minutes while carefully avoiding any damage to the colony below. As rescue ships moved in to help the survivors, Captain Veltar recorded, His final log entry about the strange events that had started with his simple distress call. "The humans have kept their promise," he said into his recorder. "They came when we called for help, and now they come when anyone calls for help. We feared them because they are so good at war, but that skill makes them perfect for keeping peace." Paused and looked out at the human ships as they coordinated the rescue efforts. The galaxy sent a distress call, and the universe answered by sending us the best protectors we could have asked for. Sometimes the most frightening gift is exactly what you need. Admiral Brooks stood on the bridge of the Freedom, watching his mixed fleet work together to save lives. Human destroyers flew alongside alien medical ships. Human Marines worked with alien engineers to clear debris and find survivors. "Commander Phillips," he said to his science officer, "I think this is going to work out very well." The galaxy had found its guardians, and the guardians had found their purpose. The SOS call that had seemed like a mistake had become the beginning of a new age of cooperation and security among the stars.